everyone, welcome back for a brand new round of box office predictions. As we always do now, before we jump into the week of predictions, we have a whole bunch of Fantasy Movie League shoutouts to give, and I think Dewey joined for the Fantasy Movie League shoutouts this time because he knows that on part of the lineup, it was my very first perfect lineup, and I'm not the only one in the mix. I am looking at an incredible list of 35 people who scored the perfect lineup. Look at them all. This is the group for this week. Huge congratulations to everybody who scored that perfect lineup. It is something else. I feel the pressure to try to achieve that again, but it took me this long to finally get one, so I don't know if it's going to happen. And there's a whole bunch of people who consistently get that perfect lineup on that list, so I got a lot of competition in this Fantasy Movie League. I've also got a whole lot of competition right here on the YouTube channel because I do check that comment section every single week, and a lot of you guys come really close to nailing these box office predictions. I know I came kind of close last week, and I wound up going only 3 for 5, but I missed out on that last one with a really bold prediction, but that bold prediction was only off by the slightest bit. To no one's surprise, Avengers Infinity War topped the charts with $62.1 million. Then it was Life of the Party, barely edging out Breaking In for number 2 with $17.9 million. Breaking In came in right behind with $17.6 million. At number 4, it was Overboard with $9.9 million. And then finally, it was A Quiet Place enjoying one last weekend in the top 5 with $6.5 million. We're all well aware of the big new edition making its way into theaters this weekend, but there is also Book Club and also Show Dogs, and it's throwing off what could potentially be in the bottom 3 this time around because it is kind of dependent on, one, how those two movies do, and also whether or not Life of the Party and Breaking In are able to hold on. Of the bunch, I think Breaking In is the goner, going right back to Will Packer's lineup to figure out what might happen to Breaking In this time around. It came pretty close opening weekend to what the movie Almost Christmas made opening weekend, and in weekend 2, that movie dropped 52%, but it did have way less competition. So weekend 2 in Almost Christmas's run, it was going up against the new release Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. He's just going to destroy everything today, and I'm going to keep talking. So Fantastic Beasts, when it first opened up, it made $74.4 million, and I think Deadpool 2 is going to make a whole lot more than that. No, of course those two movies are not targeting the same viewership, but between Deadpool 2's big opening and what I think Infinity War is also going to make, those movies are taking up a big piece of the box office pie, so to speak, and I think that's going to leave less for a movie like Breaking In. So let's say I bump up that percent change to 60% for Breaking In. That leaves it with a total of $7 million, and this weekend, I don't think that's good enough to crack the top 5, so I'm giving that number 5 spot instead to Life of the Party. I think another Melissa McCarthy movie, The Boss, might help me out big time with this one. So looking at The Boss's weekend 2, that movie dropped 56%. And when it was in its second weekend out, that's when it went up against The Jungle Book, which weekend 1 took $130.7 million, an amount that I think is somewhat comparable to what Deadpool 2 might make this weekend. On top of that, it was also facing the opening weekend of Barbershop, The Next Cut, which took about $25 million, which, hey, it's also similar to what I think Avengers Infinity War might make this time around. So considering that, but also the fact that between the two, Life of the Party had the better cinema score and it also had less to lose. So rather than give Life of the Party that 56% drop, I'm going to slash its first weekend profits in half, maybe a little more than half, and that would leave it with about $7.5 million. And this time around, I think that's good enough for that number 5 spot. Now moving on to my number 4, that is where I have one of the newcomers, and it's Show Dogs. One might think Show Dogs would flat out tank because from my perspective at least, the marketing campaign has been pretty non-existent, but then again, I am not the target audience for a movie like Show Dogs, and you know what? Show Dogs is great counter-programming for a weekend where the big release is an R-rated superhero movie, especially when you consider I don't think we've gotten a wide release that's very kid-friendly since, I don't know, maybe even Sherlock Gnomes. So there is a lot of potential for Show Dogs. When I'm looking at Show Dogs, I'm taking into account the dog aspect, obviously, and also the live-action animation hybrid component of it. Leads me right back to a movie like Marmaduke. Marmaduke, when it opened, took $11.6 million, but that movie had a studio backing it, and it also had some brand recognition. So when I take those two things and apply it to what Show Dogs might make, I think it makes me want to bring that total down to about $8 million, so that's where I'm putting it. Show Dogs is going to take $8 million for its first weekend out, and that puts it right there at number 4. Now coming in at number 3, that is where I have Book Club. Yet another new release this weekend that could benefit from being really good at counter-programming. In trying to figure out Book Club's opening total, I was looking right at The Big Wedding. That one hit theaters April of 2016. It also had a really big ensemble, but I actually think Book Club, especially based on some of the ticket sales I've seen thus far before its official release, I think it's going to go a little higher than that. I actually think it might be able to match Going in Style, and that movie opened up with just about $12 million. So that is where I'm putting Book Club. $12 million for its first weekend out. Now it is on to my number 2. You guys know what it is. He knows and clearly doesn't care. It's Avengers Infinity War. The Jurassic World comparison served me pretty well last weekend, so I'm starting there right now. In weekend 3, Jurassic World dropped 48.8%. Weekend 4, that percent change came down to 46.4%. But I don't think that's possible for Avengers Infinity War. So the thing is, in Jurassic World's 4th weekend in theaters, it was up against 2 new releases. It was Terminator Genisys and Magic Mike XXL, neither of which cracked 30 million. And as you could assume will be the case, that's not going to be what happens with Deadpool 2. So even though that movie dropped 46.4%, I think I definitely have to bring that number up big time for Avengers Infinity War, but I am not going to bring it above 55%. I'm going to leave that percent change right there. And if Avengers Infinity War loses 55% of last weekend's profits, it's still taken a rock-solid total of $28 million this time around. Now that brings us to the obvious number 1 for the weekend. It is Deadpool 2. When we covered the early tracking reports for this one, the number was about $150 million. And it feels like lately, a lot of tracking reports wind up being drastically wrong. Here, I think it might come pretty close to hitting it on the bullseye. So the first Deadpool broke records with that $132 million opening back in February of 2016. I do think Deadpool 2 is going to top that number. Is it going to hit that 150 mark? I actually think it's not going to. I'm putting it just a little bit lower than that and saying that Deadpool 2 opens with $140 million this weekend. Now it is time to recap. Of course, I have Deadpool 2 coming in at number 1 with $140 million. Then it's Avengers Infinity War taking the second spot with $28 million. Book Club is coming in at number 3 with $12 million. Then it is Show Dogs at number 4 with $8 million, and Life of the Party rounding out my top 5 with $7.5 million. All right, my work is done here, but now it is your turn. Hit that comment section below. Share your top 5 predictions right there. Also, check out the description of this video. That's where you can find the URL to the Predictions with Perri Fantasy Movie League. You can also find the password to sign up for that league. It's never too late. It goes week to week. I have winners clearly that I announce every single week on these videos. There is a cumulative competition, but jump in anytime. It refreshes every season. It's a ton of fun. Please join the league. I am loving it, and I think you will too if you like these videos. Also, we have a Patreon shout out to give. This is for someone who is super special, a name you've probably heard before because Dylan Delgado is a longtime top tier supporter. So Dylan, as always, I must send you a very special thank you. 1, for being here at all, and 2, for sticking with the campaign. I can't even begin to tell you how much it means to me. And Dewey, who's wrecking the set right now, but you know what? He still loves what we do here. Thank you guys so much for watching this latest box office prediction video. I will see you soon with even more of them.